Good day and welcome to the Boston Online High School channel. Since the beginning of time, health experts and doctors have always encouraged people to stay active and have a balanced lifestyle. But we want to know how this type of active lifestyle impacts a student's academic journey. In today's interview, guest speaker Stan Matthews, CEO at SuperSport United, will be sharing his insights and knowledge around this topic. Thanks so much for joining us, Stan.
My pleasure, Samara.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your background in the sports industry?
Well, yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I've been in the same place for 22 years. So I actually was at Boston City campus before I got into the sports industry.
Okay.
I was 7 years lecturer and in fact a principal of Boston City campus, Bedford View.
My goodness.
So I set up Boston City campus, Bedford View, in its previous location at Jeppe Quondam and in its current location now.
Wow.
So I was part of the Boston family, which is why I always make myself available to come and talk to the wonderful people like you at Boston. Because Boston had a big part in shaping my life, really.
Yes,
from Boston,
yes.
I left and joined the professional sports industry. I started out in the development academy at SuperSport United.
Okay.
And kind of quickly worked my way up into administration. I wanted to be a coach, so when I started out, I went very much wanting to be a future coach. I thought coaching was going to be my life. When I got to the professional level, I saw that the coaches that were there were much better than me, and that the bridge was a far one for me to be able to catch up to those guys who were really, I knew I would need to invest at least 10 more years in becoming a decent coach at that kind of level. And I kind of by accident leaned into the administration side of the club. And here 22 years later, I'm the CEO at the club, the longest serving CEO in the Premier League. And feel very, very blessed by the journey that I've had. And I also serve on the PSL's executive committee since 2006.
Okay.
So one of the longest serving members on the PSL board. And again, my experience at Boston helped me a lot in being able to accelerate my growth in the sport, to be able to be nominated and elected, because it's only by elections that you can get onto the executive committee. And I was very fortunate to be able to be elected since 2006 in every election. And I think part of that is the grounding that I had in my own education and in my time at Boston, that I could take that grounding with me and bring it into the sports industry. And like you opened with, in terms of active lifestyle being very important, and of course it's very important, every parent will tell you that their kid isn't doing enough activity like the old days. Because these days, we didn't have cell phones. Even a young-looking guy like me didn't have cell phones when we grew up. We played with our friends. We played in the street.
Yes.
We didn't have walls with electric fences and stuff like that. Nothing like that. And all the technology, the gadget, the permanency of technology in your life, we didn't have it. So we turned a lot more to play and active lifestyle. And today, because kids, many of them have got so many alternative entertainment options. So they steer away from healthy lifestyle. So we're getting more processed foods. We're getting less activity. We're getting more time in stationary situations, either on a console, in front of a screen, or playing with the thumbs on the phone or the tablet. But that's the world's been narrowed down for the children to a little space, and that isn't healthy. And active lifestyle is so important. And what I like to say, and what we try and promote at SuperSport United, is more towards saying a balanced lifestyle, because we have many football players that come into our football club that neglect their studies. Later, they don't make it for a multiplicity of reasons, either lack of sufficient talent or lack injuries, which play a big part in the physical contact sport. Social toughness, mental toughness, the ability to adapt to foreign countries, foreign languages, and living out of a suitcase. It isn't an easy life. So you only get a very small fraction of the people that come in to be professional players will actually make it. Less than 1%.
Sure, okay.
So the other 99, what happens to them? Very important for us as a football club that 99% leaves our club in better condition than when they came. And that doesn't just mean soccer playing. It means what was their academics like, what's their education pathway like.
True, yeah.
And if it's not academics, not everyone can be strong in academics. A lot of our kids come from rural areas. They haven't had the best grounding. They can't speak English that well. So the vernacular, they're okay, but the rest of the subjects, they're struggling. So different kids learn at different paces, but we've got kids that have gone on to become electricians, plumbers. It's fine. They can learn a trade.
Definitely.
It doesn't matter what it is that they're learning, but they need to learn. For a kid to throw all his eggs into a football playing basket, frankly, is irresponsible.
Yes.
Yes, you need to be dedicated. Yes, you need to be passionate. Yes, you need to go all in, and all the catchphrases that you hear from sporting brands, for sure. But that has to be off the basis and foundation of a strong foundation. And a strong foundation is a balanced lifestyle. That means if I'm spending 8 hours in front of the screen, that's not balanced. If I'm spending 8 hours on the road, that's not balanced. Because I have to find time for my relationships, for my family, for my studies, for my friendships, for my hobbies, for my interests, to develop myself outside of school, outside of sport. What are my hobbies? What are my interests? What do I enjoy? To cultivate a fullness in a person needs time allocation to be spread and diversified.
Definitely.
And then go for it. Once you've got a good foundation, now go all in that you want to be an Olympic athlete or something like that, because you're going for the ultimate dream. But if it doesn't work out for you, you've got a solid base to fall back on. And it's always very frightening for us when we see kids choosing a pursuit in life that doesn't involve any type of education, because they don't have fallback options if that thing doesn't work out for them.
Of course.
And that's why it's so important, I think, for us as a football club, obviously, but I think should be important for parents, for kids, to see, how much time do I spend exercising a day? And you know, when you look at the Vitality program or Discovery, what they've done in behavioral management, I do my 10,000 steps every day. And it's helped me now, because I realized before I could spend 4 or 5 hours sitting at a boardroom table or at my workstation, lost in my work without moving, and now my watch will vibrate and say time to stand. So we can use technology also for positive and to stimulate activity.
Definitely.
As opposed to rejecting activity because of technology.
Yes, that's so good. That's really good. Would you then say that a balanced lifestyle and including, you know, being active would improve a student's academic journey or health, should I say?
I think it's been scientifically proven, sociologically, that sport adds positively to multiple areas in a person's life. First of all, social integration. Many people who are awkward in certain social situations or don't feel comfortable, for example, with public speaking, or they're shy or introverted people, but they find a way of connecting through sport. Sport levels all the playing fields. No one sees religion or race, color, creed, you know, and even gender now. You know, you're getting a cross-pollination of male and female sports in certain activities, not so much the contact sports, but now, where did we see female rugby 10 years ago? Where did we see female cricket 10 years ago? Where did we see female football 10 years ago? But these sports are mainstream now, gaining popularity, gaining traction at grassroots level. Now that gives a platform and an avenue for women to go more into where has traditionally been men's domain before. Because, you know, in our club, for example, we have woman doctor, woman physiotherapist, woman masseuse, woman house mother, woman education officer, and club secretary's lady. So suddenly 40% of our workforce, which was unheard of when I joined SuperSport in 1999, there was one woman in the club. and now there's 2,000
Yeah.
women in the club.
Sure, that's amazing.
And that kind of spread of women into sport has been very, very important, because now you can see women go on, they're the anchor of the home. They are the ones who are showing the kids. And when they see moms active and moms encouraging us to be active, that's why we want that balanced lifestyle all the time, because the social integration is important, but it's been proven scientifically that kids improve academically when they feel part of a team, when they feel popular. So a kid that's doing well at soccer will suddenly see his marks improve, not because he suddenly became a whiz kid at maths, but because his self-confidence has improved.
Yes.
And his self-image has improved.
Definitely.
And so suddenly he's not feeling like, I can't do this maths equation anymore. He's thinking, hey, I can do it, because I can do so much more, because football's given him confidence.
And motivation.
Absolutely.
To be better
and
in
integration.
whichever
So
aspect
in
in
all
life,
the sociological areas that sport ticks those buttons, brings people together, gives self-confidence, motivates, channels, directs. That's why, as parents, for me, I've got 5 kids, by the way. So
Wow.
Yes, 5. And we have encouraged all our children. My oldest boy was a professional footballer. He played in the National First Division. That was his level. But he went for it. And even if he hadn't played at that level, he got scholarship at UCT. So that's the kind of stuff that you want to see for your kid, a positive orientation from sport to get an academic bursary.
Definitely.
Now he works in
Yes.
property, and nothing to
Amazing,
do with
yeah.
football, but football was a gateway for him to be able to push his studies further, to live an active
Definitely,
lifestyle.
yeah.
When all his friends were running around, getting drunk every night and running after women and sleeping little, he knew he had to be in a team. He knew that if he wasn't in bed by 10 o'clock, the coach would see it the next day in his performance. So he ate better than other kids.
So there's still this sense of discipline in
For
him,
sure.
yeah.
He had a great sense of discipline in what he ate, what he put into his body,
Sure.
his a healthy activity lifestyle. Now my other daughter, she's 25. She plays indoor football at Discovery Soccer Park every week. She loves the soccer. My other daughter, she's 23. She was a gymnast. Pushed her a lot at her gymnastics. She was outstanding at gymnastics and national, whatever. But he made friends, gave her confidence. 2 younger ones, they're still small, but they enjoy their sport, whether it's tennis, whether it's soccer, athletics. We push the kids as parents to do and be involved in sport, because we know that the friends that they make on the sport field are going to be their friends for the rest of their life.
That's true. Yeah?
And,
yeah.
and it's different sometimes, in work and in other places, you cut people, you move on. When your sports friends, people that you played sport with, that you won something together with, that you went on a journey
Creates
with,
this
that you
life
went on a tour with,
yeah.
it's forever. and
Yeah,
and that's
that's great.
beautiful
That
about
is,
sports.
yeah.
And that's why you'll see at the end of even professional games, people that have been slugging it out, fighting during the game, kicking each other, coming to blows, wanting to headbutt and fight.
Yeah.
But at the end of the game, everybody's hugging and catching up, and we'll meet you in the later for a drink, and that camaraderie is irreplaceable.
Definitely. I know with a lot of students are so passionate about pursuing sport as a career, and they try to fit schooling, and so they do want to be good academically. They do want to thrive academically, and get those amazing results back from on their matric report cards or whatever it might be. So I would assume that flexibility can be or is a very important thing for those students who are trying to pursue sports professionally. What would you say regarding that?
I think you have to be sensible where you are in your approach to where you want to go in sport. So the first thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of expert you want to be in any one field in sport. You need to have generic fundamental qualifications. So for example, I won't hire a sports psychologist for my football team that doesn't have the best qualifications from the best places. And if it's international qualifications, ever more better, because we want fresh ideas, we want global best practice, we want internationally recognized people working with our athletes. I don't want to limit my people to the best doctor in Gauteng when they can have the best doctor in South Africa or Africa or in the best input in the world, because that's what we're competing against.
Definitely.
My player has to go from South Africa, he has to go to Europe, and he has to compete at that level. An Egyptian like Mohamed Salah has to go from Cairo and go to the UK and adapt.
Yeah.
Now, that takes a lot in the formal education sense. It also takes a lot in the social, mental toughness sense. How are you surrounded? Who are your friends? What kind of family environment have you got that's supporting you?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a good support system, very, 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 very difficult. So you can be flexible as a human being. You've got to be flexible. But more than flexibility, flexibility is just kind of a core, a basic requirement. But the killer is your mental toughness. The killer is what's your game plan. And I think that a lot of young kids go into these things with only one game plan. And that game plan is like an all or nothing on one direction that they want to go. And that's great if it works out for you, but it's risky. What's better if when you have generic management qualifications or marketing qualifications, things that you can use, even technology today, can be applied in many, many different spheres and industries.
Yeah.
So if you can have generic skills that you can cut across, then you're not limited to a property sector or the sporting sector or the banking sector or the retail sector, or manufacturing or entrepreneurial. These are the type of choices that kids have got to face. Oh, do I want to be a lawyer? Do I want to be a doctor? What do I want to be?
Definitely,
Now,
yeah.
as a young kid, how are you supposed to know what you want to be? If you asked me when I was young, I don't know what I wanted to be a professional soccer player, but I didn't become it. And if I put all my eggs into that basket, I would have been crushed. But my parents were very hard on me. No, you need to get an education, and you must go be a lawyer or you must be a doctor. So like I did the next closest thing, and I studied psychology because I didn't have the marks to get into medicine, and I didn't have the stomach to go the legal, to study lawyer stuff.
Yeah,
So I thought, okay, psychologist, that I can do, and I'll be called a doctor, keep my family happy. Then I discovered sports psychology, so I said, definitely I can become a sports psychologist, I'll be the best. But by the time I actually got into the sports industry, I didn't want to be a sports psychologist anymore. I didn't want to be a coach anymore, and I didn't want to be a player anymore. But if I hadn't pursued my studies, if I didn't have a diploma in public relations, if I didn't have a degree in psychology, if I didn't have an honors in sports management, BCom honors, then I wouldn't have got my job as CEO of SuperSport.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have got it.
Exactly.
I would have been capped as a potential coach, and I would have been fighting only in that pool. So,
So it's just opened so many more doors.
You've got to open as many doors in today's world. There's so few doors open. In South Africa, the unemployment rate is sky high. So for you to get into the door, you're competing with a large proportion of people. For one job, there's hundreds of applicants. And what's going to give you the edge? So expertise, of course, and niche expertise gives you edge, but that comes after the basics. First come the basics, and today the young people want to be professors before they've got an undergrad.
Yeah.
And that's a danger, because everything else in their life comes quick. If I want to meet a girl, I just go on to Tinder or something and I'll meet a girl.
Yeah.
If I want to get a food right now, I'll go on Mr. D or Uber Eats and I'll get my food right now. If I've got something in the fridge that needs cooking, I can just stick it in the nuke, in the microwave, and I'm done. I want to go online and play in a tournament, I can do it right now. Online, I can e-game. Everything's now. The kids don't want to wait. Now, the problem then comes into stuff where waiting is an essential part of the journey. Relationships, as an example. You can't just jump in and out of relationships every 2 minutes. You're not going to build anything. A career. You can't just after a year at a job say, I haven't had a promotion, or I didn't get this or that, now I want to leave. How many cycles do you need to become an expert in your field? For me personally,
that's so true,
it's been a 35-year journey up to now, and there isn't a week that goes by where I don't learn something new that I didn't know before, that I should have known before. that I would have done differently if I'd only known then. But we don't know what we don't know. So for me, with the children, and from an education point of view, for you as Boston, for the students and for the parents who are making these kind of considerations, my personal input would be try and stay as broad and generic in the beginning as possible to give more options later, more certainty later when I say, oh, I want to be a certain chemical engineer. But, you need to be pretty certain, I want to be an actuarial scientist.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very precise, I want to be a professor of something, I want to be a chartered accountant, so if you want to be those things, there's a path that you have to follow. And you have to compete against a certain amount of people for a lesser amount of spots, and it's very cutthroat, but so if you're not up for it, you're not going to win. You're not going to be one of the 100 that gets selected if the certain ingredients in you aren't there. Now, some of those ingredients can't be taught.
That's true, yeah.
Some of those things you can read 1,000 textbooks. Even in football, a lot of coaches come, they've read 1,000 textbooks, they've watched 1,000 videos, they've watched a million football matches. They still couldn't analyze their way out of a paper bag because they don't have a gut feel. Then another guy who's done no courses, but he gets it. He sees who's going to be a good player.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy you want as your scout.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's your eye and your talent, but very, very rarely. 99% of the time, it's your hard work and your foundation.
Definitely. And that's why it's important for students to try different things, because then they can learn what do they have a knack for, what are they naturally good at, and pursue that.
The difficulty is like this. When a parent gets asked by a child, Mom, Dad, I want to go and study journalism. And then Mom and Dad have to pay for journalism and it costs a lot of money. And then 6 months into journalism, I found out, actually, I didn't want to do journalism at all. I wanted to do occupational therapy. So it's nice to say to kids, shoot the breeze and try different stuff. I think a lot of that research and a lot of that stuff needs to be done before. That's why if you have an excellent academic institution like Boston, where counselors are fantastic. For me personally, none of my kids came to Boston, the 3 that have left school. But all 3 came to Boston for counseling. Because I trusted the one particular counselor that I knew in all the time, that even when I was there, and I knew she would give my children the right advice for them, irrespective of whether they were going to sign up at Boston or not. And I think that for me, if you can find a good people to go to, now there are some companies that charge money to do that kind of stuff, and there are institutions that offer that kind of stuff, and there are friends and people and organizations that also volunteer that kind of assistance. And today online, you can do a lot of research before you're not just going in blind. And I think that's important to make choices. So yes, dabble. Do a short course in something that's not going to hurt your parents too much to see if you really like it. Do a certificate course to start. Do a diploma course to start. Don't bite off a 4-year degree if you're not 100% sure that that's what you want to do. And today, study has become so much easier. When we studied, it was a full year. If you failed, you had to redo the full year. Now you've got modular studies. You can bite off 6-month chunks at a time. So it's not like you've wasted a full year and you've got to now. I had to do my 3-year degree over 4 years because of one subject. So now kids, I wouldn't be in that situation because I would have had 2 stabs at it in a 6-month module, and I could have done it. So the kids have got a lot of flexibility, much more range of options than we ever had before. International accredited courses that were never available to us. When I wanted to study sports psychology, there wasn't a single international sports psychology qualification available in South Africa. Not one. And at the time that Boston City campus started their sports management diploma in 1993, there wasn't another single sports management diploma on offer in the country. There were no courses. Now, There's dozens and dozens of courses, and you can become any kind of expert. You can go and do personal training, you can be a sports nutritionist, you can be a sports psychologist, you can be a sports marketer, sports manager, sports administrator. You can do anything in the sports journalism, broadcasting, Boston Media House now, where you can basically launch yourself into any type of online media savvy, streaming, gaming world at the touch of a button. So really, I think that the kids have got a lot of opportunity, but in those opportunity and choices comes a greater requirement for research.
Definitely,
and speaking to experts and people that understand you and know you. You know, to fill in some online thing of a person who can't look in your eye and who doesn't know what kind of a personality you are, who's going to then advise you, like if somebody had told me, you know, we've looked at all the aptitudes, he's brilliant at mathematics, and we recommend he becomes an accountant or a bookkeeper. That wouldn't work, because I would have absolutely been the most unhappy human being in the history of humanity. It's not my personality style. And if I hadn't had people that would guided me and said, look, we get that your family wants you to be a lawyer or a doctor, why don't you think about becoming an industrial psychologist or a sports psychologist or a clinical psychologist, and you can kind of do any of those things when you're that. Yeah. So I went with it. Now, those are people I trusted. So I trust Boston. I think that people can trust Boston's counselors to give them good advice. But even if it's not Boston counselors, seek as much advice as you can. Look into it so that you're not relying on a strange person that you just met to steer the rest of your life.
Or a vague idea of what you think it is.
It's I think it's just like basic failing to plan is planning to fail.
Yes.
When it comes to your studies, for sure, and when it comes to your career, for sure.
Definitely. I want to talk a bit about curriculums. I know with Boston Online High School, we offer the Cambridge International Curriculum, and we believe that, you know, it is a globally recognized curriculum, and top universities, employers around the world do recognize this curriculum. What is your advice concerning curriculums from, let's say, sport clubs around the world? Do they look at that? What matric did you finish?
International experience gives you something which says, I can leave South Africa and I can still maintain my passion, my love, and my expertise in another place. Now, nobody wants to be able to be a one-trick pony. And in this world of opportunity, the world has become a village. And you can get an opportunity online in London tomorrow. Are you ready to go there? Can you do it? And do your qualifications speak to that thing? So when you talk to me, like, for example, about Cambridge, for a person who is thinking about the UK as a potential destination, and not just the UK, because the American colleges, the Canadian colleges, the Australian colleges, the European colleges, they all hold that kind of Cambridge in high esteem. So if I'm applying for a global position, and I'm coming from a South African university, or I'm coming from or a South African school, or I'm coming from a Cambridge system, one has continental and regional appeal, and one has international appeal. When a coach comes to me and he has a FIFA qualification, a UEFA qualification, and then I see, oh, he's got a CAF qualification also. So the guy who just has a CAF, which means Confederation of African Football, so he's a coach that's been licensed in Africa. I'm very happy. CAF qualifications are very well recognized. But the guy who has a CAF qualification and a UEFA qualification and a FIFA qualification, that guy's going to get the job first. So it's a pecking order. And that's the same in accounting. When Deloitte's go out there to go and recruit accountants, when Bowman Gilfillian are going out there to recruit lawyers, attorneys, interns, they're asking you to apply with your marks, and if your marks are 85, 90 plus, you got a chance. And if your marks are 55, 60, you got no chance.
Yeah.
That's the reality. We have the same metrics in football. It's just they're different metrics. It's not your maths mark or your counting mark or your legal 101 mark. but it's how fast are you over 5 meters, 10 meters, 30 meters. You know, how good are you with both feet? How physically strong are you? How many repeat runs can you make? Your stamina, your strength, your body fat ratio, your VO2 max. It's all done by scientists. I don't know any of it. And they'll tell me, these are your 15 fittest players in order. And I'll know, you guys from number 16 to number 30, you're in the second half of the performing athletes in my stable. You've got a good chance that your contract's not going to be renewed next season if you don't pull up your socks, if you don't start working hard, if you don't start showing me data like these guys are showing me. Our guys wear GPS vests when they play. They can't cheat. Like, I had a good game coach. I know exactly how many meters they ran. I know they ran 11.7 kilometers. This guy and the other guy playing next to him in the midfield ran 7.8 kilometers. So I don't need to be a rocket scientist to know this guy cheated. He ran 4 kilometers less than his mate. He shirked. You're not going to play next week. You can't cheat that. I also know what his heart rate was when he was doing it. So I know whether he was straining and his heart rate was going very, very high, which I know then his fitness levels are low, or he went to sleep late, or he hasn't been eating properly. I can tell straight away, immediately, the lifestyle of the player. Just from measuring on his vest.
That's
so
very
it's
interesting.
different now. In the past, you would look at the eye and you would say that player's a good player. Even if he was fit or he wasn't fit, you didn't know exactly. In this world of technology, I know exactly when his heart rate started to go above a certain rate. I must pull him from the field because it's not good anymore. He's going to get injured.
Definitely.
He's going to get injured.
Sure.
So it's scientific now. It's sports science. And in everything we do, and when you come into science, when you come into that, you want to know, when you go to a doctor, Samara, you go to a doctor on the side of the road that's operating out of a tin shack, or you go to a place that's got a nice medical practice with good hygiene, and when you walk on the wall, that your doctor, he got his qualification from a Cuban university that you never heard about, or he got his qualification from, Wits Medical School, as an example. That makes a difference in your comfort and knowledge of what you do. So it's the same in the sports space. We look for best practice. We look for the best qualified people. We look for the most experienced people. And amongst that mix, whoever has international qualifications, whoever has more than the local, is already one step ahead and has more chance of being employed, more chance of being given an opportunity, more chance of getting a work placement, more chance of getting an internship, more chance of getting a bursary or a scholarship, because they're bringing more to the table and their prospects of success are higher. And that, unfortunately, is the world that we live in.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no?
Stan, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. But you've given us a lot to think about, I think, in terms of keeping a balanced lifestyle and encouraging our kids to be healthier in the way they live and more active. And I think we can both agree that that does improve the way they would perform academically as well. And overall,
we hope so.
We hope so. Thank you for everyone who was watching today, and we really hope that you enjoyed this interview, and then we will see you next time. Goodbye.